Welcome, people of the World Wide Web. So it's Cypher Sigma. It is the weekend, so it's movie review time. And as the kind of thumbnail would pertain to, is that yes, I've seen Predator Badlands in 3D. Let mind, just want to add that because that does actually come into a factor. So this is the latest iteration of the Predator franchise from Dan Fatchenberg. He previously directed Prey and obviously Killer of Killers, so he's quite versed in the world of the Predator itself, both previous ones being quite successful. And this new one, if you haven't come across it, it's an hour and 47 minutes long. It is, I think, a PG-13, made on 105 million budget, which isn't a lot in this day and age. And essentially you have Deck. He is a young runt of the Predators. To basically, he's kind of cast out. He decides to choose a journey. So each Predator has to go on a journey. They have to kill a beast. When they kill a beast, they get their cloaking device, and he kind of is set out. There's more to it, but I'll explain that on the spoiler one. He gets kind of sent out in a ship of his brothers to the planet of Genna to fight the Basilisk. Basilisk. Yeah, Basilisk. I think that's Basilisk. I think that's what it's called. It's this giant undefeatable beast. Along the way, he meets up with Thea, who is from the Weyland-Yutani. So we have the Aliens franchise being brought into this. Her and a load of other drones have been there to basically catch this creature. She joins forces with Dex, and then basically there's a lot to go. I don't want to go into too much. If you watch the trailer, it kind of gives a little bit. He's stuck on a planet and he's trying to fight for his life. That is kind of the story of this. There's a lot more to it, but that's it. So we will put the spoiler warning up, and we will get into it. So this movie starts where you get told about Yataj, if I pronounce that right. So Yataj Prime is essentially the Predator's homeworld. In part of this planet, you have two brothers fighting each other. You have the younger runt, Deck, and Kiwei is his older brother. They're fighting in a cave. In 3D, this looks really good. Essentially coming to the point of Kiwei basically says to his brother, you know, what are you going to do to earn your cloak? Kiwei goes through all the different creatures on the different planets, and he decides the Basilisk is what he is going to basically get. And he says, and Kiwei says, like, you know, even Dad is scared of this. You know, I don't think you should go. And he goes, you know, it's my decision. I need to prove it because I'm the runner there. As this happens, their dad turns up. Obviously the brothers greet him. Then he realizes, or the realization comes about, that Kiwei was actually brought Deck out here to actually kill him. He decides to not do that, defy his dad. His dad unfortunately kills Kiwei, but Kiwei manages to send Deck off into his ship. Unfortunately, it was already programmed for Gemma, which is where the Basilisk is based. As the ship shoots off and enters light space, he is knocked unconscious. He awakes as he is in a asteroid storm heading towards the planet's surface. He manages to break free in a little pod kind of thing. He crash lands to the planet's surface, where he then arranges all the weapons that he has. As he starts to do this, you start to see these tentacles kind of come out of the air and start taking half of his items, or most of his items. We find that there's some sort of tree creature or creatures that have loads of tentacles. He manages to escape these, but basically loses almost all of his weaponry except a kind of plasma sword. He then travels on through the planet's outer surface, trying to find what happens, until he gets this kind of field of this weird plants with these thorny things, and then this creature above him starts dropping boulders in there to set off these poisonous one. This is where he meets Ella Fanning's character Thea. She is being cast. She's kind of ripped in half and stuck in these vines. As the creature does it, the Dex gets hit by these thorns, but he manages to throw a weapon to Thea. Thea manages to free herself, and then she manages to heal him and bring him about after he's been attacked. You find out she's got half her body. There's a discussion between her and Dex, and she basically explains that, you know, that he is who he is, but she can help him find this creature. If he brings her with him and says that, you know, use me like a tool. And this is when then you start to put a bit of a backstory. You find Thea is actually one of two robots. So you have Thea and Tessa. They were with a load of clone drones brought to this planet to actually capture this legendary creature that kind of, I suppose, is unkillable. It's only when you encounter on the way to encounter this creature, you see some of the other creatures of this planet, and they meet this little kind of ape-like creature called Bud, or that's what Thea names him. And there's kind of a connection between her and Dex, or the creature and Dex, but then they decide to leave him alone because obviously Dex is very much like, I don't need help. I need to prove who I am. To the point of he gets Thea back to the ship. She starts repairing herself, or where the Basilisk is based, where their base was ripped apart very early on in the story that you didn't get to see. The Basilisk then kind of comes down. And then Tessa turns up, basically capturing the Basilisk, and basically capturing them all, going to take them away. And this is where Thea starts to realise that she's formed a bond and got a bit more consciousness, and she doesn't want that. She rebels. Dex escapes. Then, with a little bit of ingenuity, he comes back, frees Thea, and with the two of them combined, they then break out the Basilisk, realising that Bud, who they met with earlier, is actually a baby Basilisk. Unfortunately, Tessa manages to kill the Basilisk, explodes it again in 3D, looked really, really great. But then obviously Dax manages to kill Tessa. Then it's a decision of obviously Dax to go back to his home planet. He does, meets up with his dad, so throws Tessa's android head on the floor and says, this is what I deserve. His dad's not really impressed. He sends two guards out to him, which Dex easily subdues. Then he goes against his dad. And then using a few skills, he manages to apprehend him in the same way that his dad apprehended him at the beginning of the film. And his dad's basically saying, okay, maybe you are strong. And then you see a very big Bud bite his dad's head off. This is where a load of other predators come out the woodwork. You kind of then see that Dex has his kind of pack, which is a kind of recurring theme of a wolf pack you see throughout this film. And then this ship and that comes, and then he mutters a word, essentially, that's mum. Or it sounds like mum. So I'm assuming it's Dex's mum because he just killed his dad. Or it could be Weyland Yutani's mum. And then the credits roll, and that's it. So what did I think of this movie? I rated it 7.4 out of 10. I actually thought this was a superb movie. In 3D, it was far. The fight scenes in the cave, the explosion of the Basilisk, a lot of other shooting stuff and projectiles, and that looked really, really good. The fight scenes, the ideas, the when Dex has his kind of creature armor and stuff like this, and the insects and stuff was great. He has this kind of like snake that shoots stuff out. It was really, it's really, really good. Come up with really, really clever ideas. I've always said in this that the androids or the simps should be used a lot more because obviously they're expendable, but obviously with like them against the aliens. But absolutely loved this movie. The only bad point, really, from mine is that now it's quite a really good movie. It's now I have to consider if I'm going to put it in the top 10. And unfortunately, there's a lot of movies that are now popping out of the woodwork that are really good at the end of this year, which is good because it hasn't been the best of year for movies overall. But I have a 10, but now obviously there are other ones fighting for it. So have you seen this movie? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below. I've been Cypher Sigma Screen Time, and I shall definitely see you in the next one.